Alright, Class A, here is an intro to how to say to become in Spanish. First of all, you should know that there are several verbs that express a change of state, which can usually be translated as to become in English. But I want to say that there is no one single verb that says to become in English. In fact, there are so many verbs, usually reflexive or pronominal, that have to become in their very own definition. Like current vocab, enfermarse is to get or become sick, and the definition has to become in it, and you just conjugate it to get I became sick. So me enfermé, I became, or I got sick. So there's so many usually reflexive or pronominal verbs that are already used to say to become. But if you want to say to become in different situations where there's not a verb directly made for it, your choice depends on the type of change or how the change came about. So as we go through these options, keep in mind that while some may be used interchangeably, most are not, even though they would all be translated or could all be translated to say to become in English. Alright, so again, it's a complicated concept for anyone that's not a native Spanish speaker, so this is an intro and a guideline to what words you will use with each one in different situations. So, ponerse plus adjective is one of the most commonly used expressions to say to become, and it's used with temporary, involuntary, physical, or emotional reactions like happy. Someone became happy, or someone became or turned red, or nervous. We've got two emotional ones, we've got one physical one, and those are temporary or involuntary reactions. So these adjectives are most commonly used with ponerse plus adjective, so when you see them, use ponerse. Then we have quedarse plus adjective, which is not among the most common ways to say to become. However, it is always used with dormido to say that someone became asleep, or otherwise known as fell asleep. It's used with physical or emotional changes that are often lasting for at least a while and a consequence of another occurrence. So if someone was super tired and they fell asleep, or something was super boring and they fell asleep, someone went on a diet and they got thin, if something happened and someone became blind, deaf, or widowed, and I've also seen quedarse used with surprised. Volverse plus adjective is another commonly used way to say to become. And it's usually, its most common use is to say that someone went crazy, figuratively speaking. So it's used with loco, like if someone went crazy at a concert or at a game or something like that. Otherwise, it's used to discuss changes in a person's behavior or personality. So if someone became a more generous person, or a more cautious person, or a more studious student, you'd use volverse plus adjective. Hacerse plus adjective is also used to say to become, and it's used with gradual changes due to the passage of time. Like if you want to say someone became older, or responsible, or strong, or famous, those are commonly used with hacerse. Hacerse is also used in similar situations to volverse when you're discussing someone's behavior or personality changes. So you might also see hacerse with the words that I mentioned with volverse. Alright, so these are all verbs that are used with adjectives, so don't forget your adjective must agree in number and gender with your subject. Just because we're talking about something new, don't forget something that we've been doing this whole time. Adjectives have to agree in number and gender. However, certain verbs can also be followed by a noun and be used to say to become. Volverse is one of them. You can use volverse plus a noun to say that a business became successful. Like the restaurant became a success, a good business, or a lucrative business. It's used in these types of situations. And hacerse is also one of the verbs that can be used followed by a noun, and it's used with voluntary changes in thinking, social status, religion, or profession. So if you want to say that someone became a Buddhist, or someone became a vegetarian, or someone became a doctor, you would use hacerse, or could use hacerse plus the noun. Another way to say that is also llegar plus a plus ser, but it's not one that the book is focused on, so we're not going to be worried about that. And another way to say that someone or something changed or became something else is to use the verb that is like to convert into something, convertirse. So it's used to express a permanent and dramatic change, like if you want to say that someone became an expert or professional or the best at something or the first person to do something. These changes are dramatic and permanent, and you could use convertirse, which is an E to IE stem changer. Alright, so to anyone that's not a native Spanish speaker, this can be a tricky concept. So I'm not expecting you all to master this. It's just something that we are starting to delve into, and what I expect you to be able to do is know which one of these to use if I give you any of the examples from our notes. So if you see un éxito, you should be thinking volverse plus noun. If you see expert or professional or the first, you should be thinking convertirse. If you see a religion or a profession, you should be going to hacerse. And if you see any of the adjectives that are in your notes, especially dormido or loco, you should know what those go with. Any emotions, temporary emotions, use ponerse. Anything that seems more like a behavior or personality change, go with volverse. If you see these, go with hacerse. So if you want to make note cards, if you want to do whatever you need to do so that you, when you see these adjectives or the nouns on the following page, that you know what verb they're used with, I fully support whatever it is you decide to do.